How you see yourself is more important than what you are right now. There is something more powerful than your current situation. It is the image you carry of yourself inside your mind. Because how you are right now is a condition, but how you see yourself is an identity. And conditions can change. You may be struggling financially right now. You may be learning something slowly right now. You may be living somewhere you were never expected to live. You may have failed at something. You may have started again. You may not have the confidence you want yet. Those things describe where you are. They don't necessarily describe who you are. And this is where many people become trapped. They look at their current condition and turn it into an identity. I failed, therefore I'm a failure. I don't have money, therefore I am poor. I don't understand this yet, therefore I'm not intelligent. My life is disorganized, therefore I'm just an undisciplined person. People rejected me, therefore something must be wrong with me. Be careful. You just turned an experience into an identity. And once something becomes part of your identity, you begin unconsciously defending it with your behavior. Your current reality is a photograph, not the whole movie. Imagine taking one photo from a 2 hours movie. Could you understand the entire story from this one picture? Probably not. That's what we sometimes do with our lives. We take a photograph of today and declare, this is who I am. No, this is where you are today. Therefore, there is a difference. Maybe today you are confused. That doesn't mean you are a confused person. Maybe today you are afraid. That doesn't mean fear is your identity. Maybe today you are rebuilding. That doesn't mean you are destroyed. Maybe today you are a beginner. That doesn't mean you are incapable. You are looking at one frame of a much bigger story. Don't build a permanent identity around a temporary chapter. Your self-image quietly controls your decision. This is where it becomes deeper. The way you see yourself influences what you believe you deserve. What you believe you deserve influences what you tolerate. What you tolerate influences your environment. Your environment influences your habit. And your habit eventually creates your reality. Sometimes, when we are trying to change our lives, we start too far down the chain. We attack the behavior, wake up earlier, work harder, exercise, save money, study, be disciplined. Those things matters. But there is another question underneath them. Who do you believe you are? Because if your action constantly conflicts with your identity, maintaining those actions becomes difficult. Suppose you are constantly telling yourself, I'm lazy. Then you create a schedule for 3 days and follow it. But somewhere inside you, the old identity is still speaking. This is really you. Eventually, you miss one morning and immediately you say, see, I know it. I'm lazy. Notice what happened. One mistake become evidence for an old identity. That's why identity matters so much. Instead of saying, I'm lazy and I'm trying to become disciplined, begin developing a different self-image. I am becoming someone who keeps promises to myself. Now, every small action becomes evidence. You wake up when you said you would. Evidence. You study for 20 minutes. Evidence. You exercise when you don't feel like it. Evidence. You finish something you started. Evidence. Slowly, your mind receives a new message. This is who we are now. Don't wait until you become it to see yourself different. This is where people misunderstand identity work. Seeing yourself differently doesn't mean pretending. You don't stand in front of the mirror with 10 euro and say, I am a millionaire. That's fantasy. Identity rebuilding must be connected to behavior. Instead, you say, I am becoming someone who handles money wisely. Then you start handling 10 euro wisely. You don't say, I am the most disciplined person in the world. You say, I am becoming someone who does what I said I would. Then prove it today. You don't say, I am fearless. You say, I am someone who can feel fear without allowing fear to make every decision. Then take one courage action. That's how identity becomes real. You don't lie to yourself about your condition. You simply refuse to let your condition determine the limit of your identity. Your past may have given you an identity you never choose. And this part is important. Not everything you believed about yourself originally came from you. Some identities were handed to you. Maybe somebody repeatedly called you stupid. Maybe you were compared with other children. Maybe you were constantly criticized. Maybe you were ignored. Maybe you were rejected. Maybe you grew up where survival mattered more than self-discovery. Maybe you learned, don't speak, don't trust, don't try, don't make mistakes, don't depend on anyone, don't draw attention to yourself. And eventually, those survival instructions becomes personality statements. You stopped saying, I learned to stay quiet, and started saying, I am just a quiet person. You stopped saying, I learned not to trust people, and started saying, I don't need anybody. You stopped saying, I became afraid of making mistakes, and started saying, I'm not good at this. But some things you called your personality may actually be adaptations. Some things you called me may simply be strategy you learned in another season of your life. And if something was learned, it can be examined. If it no longer serves you, it can be changed. Look at yourself through the eyes of possibility. You need to learn how to hold two truths at the same time. I accept where I am, and I refuse to believe this is all I can become. That's maturity. You don't need to hate your present self to build your future self. You don't have to insult today's version of you. Today's version brought you here. Thank that version. Learn from that version. But don't make that version permanent. Ask yourself, who does my future requires me to become? Not what do I want to have? Go deeper. Who must you become to handle what you are asking for? If you want a healthy body, what identity supports it? If you want financial ability, what identity supports it? If you want healthy relationship, what identity supports it? If you want education, what identity supports it? If you want peace, what identity supports it? If you want a different future, what belief, boundaries, habits, and standard must exist inside the person living that future? Now you've moved beyond wishing. You are building. Your future self needs evidence. And this is where the work becomes practical. Tonight, choose one sentence. I am becoming someone who, fill in the space. Maybe I am becoming someone who finishes what I started. I am becoming someone who respects my own boundaries. I am becoming someone who studies consistently. I am becoming someone who takes care of my body. I am becoming someone who manages my emotion instead of allowing every emotion to control my behavior. Then, tomorrow, give yourself one piece of evidence. Not 20, one. Because evidence isn't only something you think. Confidence is also memory. Your mind remembers. I said I would do this, and I did. Do that repeatedly, and your relationship with yourself begins to change. You began trusting yourself. Your posture changes. Your decisions change. Your standards change. The thing you tolerate change. The opportunities you pursue change. Even the way you respond to failure changes. Because now failure doesn't mean I'm a failure. It means that approach didn't work. What can I learn? That's a completely different identity. Stop introducing yourself to your future using your past. Some of us walk towards tomorrow while consistently introducing ourselves with yesterday's story. I have always been like this. I have never been good at that. Nobody in my family has done it. I tried before. I made too many mistakes. Listen carefully. Your history deserves to be understood, but it doesn't deserve automatic authority over your future. Your past should become information, not imprisonment. Take the lesson, take the wisdom, take the experience, but don't carry every old identity with you. Some identities have expired. How you are right now matters. Don't ignore reality. If something needs fixing, fix it. If you need to learn, learn. If you need help, seek it. If you made a mistake, take responsibility. But never confuse responsibility for your current reality with surrounding your identity to it. Where you are is information. Who you are becoming is direction. You can be struggling and still see yourself as someone rebuilding. You can be a beginner and still see yourself as someone capable of mystery. You can have very little and still see yourself as someone learning stewardship. You can be afraid and still see yourself as courageous enough to move. You can have a pain history without making pain your identity. So don't only ask, how am I doing? Ask, how am I seeing myself? Because before your external life changes, something often has to be changed internally. A belief, a standard, a decision, a picture of yourself. And every day you behave according to that new picture, you are casting another vote for your new identity. Until one day, what you once saw only as possibility becomes the person standing in the mirror. Your current condition tells you where you are. Your identity helps determine where you go next. So build the person first and let your life catch up. So, how do you see yourself? Not what does your bank account says. Not what does your relationship status says. Not what does your job title says. Not what does your current address says. Not what do other people call you. I'm asking, when nobody is around, who do you believe you are? Because that private answer influences your public life more than you realize. If you see yourself as powerless, you will consistently wait for somebody to rescue you. If you see yourself as incapable, you will avoid opportunities that could develop you. If you see yourself as unworthy, you may tolerate things that violate your standard. But when your self-image begins changing, something else happens. You start asking, does this decision match the person I'm becoming? That's a powerful question. Before the relationship, does this match who I'm becoming? Before the purchase, does this match who I'm becoming? Before giving up, does this match who I'm becoming? Before responding in anger, does this match who I'm becoming? Before returning to an old habit, does this match who I'm becoming? Now, identity becomes a compass. How you are right now matters. Don't ignore reality. If something needs fixing, fix it. If you need to learn, learn. If you need help, seek it. If you made a mistake, take responsibility. But never confuse responsibility for your current reality with surrounding your identity to it. Where you are is information. Who you are becoming is direction. You can be struggling and still see yourself as someone rebuilding. You can be a beginner and still see yourself as someone capable of mystery. You can have very little and still see yourself as someone learning stewardship. You can be afraid and still see yourself as courageous enough to move. You can have a pain history without making pain your identity. So don't only ask, how am I doing? Ask, how am I seeing myself? Because before your external life changes, something often has to be changed internally. A belief, a standard, a decision, a picture of yourself. And every day you behave according to that new picture, you are casting another vote for your new identity. Until one day, what you once saw only as possibility becomes the person standing in the mirror. Your current condition tells you where you are. Your identity helps determine where you go next. So build the person first and let your life catch up.